Hey y'all, it's your girl Joi Miner, the Southern Goddess. Your very own Bama-grown, countrified, poetry-spitting, plot-penning, writing, teaching, lesbian, and entrepreneuring, community activist and mama. And this here show's host. I'd like to welcome you to Main Character Energy, the Joi Miner experience. This here is where we talk life, love, lessons, and the power of showing up as your full self. Messy, magical, and main character ready. So let's get into it. You have just stepped into your main character energy, where you are the author, the plot twist, and the happy ending. With your host,
writer Joi Miner.
Joi Miner.
Joi Miner.
Joi Miner.
Joi Miner.
Come on, Joi Miner.
Buckle up, buttercups. You're in for one hell of a ride. Hey y'all. Welcome to Main Character Energy, the Joi Miner experience. Today, we're going to talk about putting something down that we should have never picked up. That strong one syndrome. Now, we all know what that is. It's being everything to everybody. It's always showing up. It's carrying loads that may not be yours, or the way I say it, I ain't carrying your cross. It's sacrificing yourself to help others. Now, it's okay to help others, but should you sacrifice yourself? Should you throw yourself on the gauntlet for somebody else's struggles, for somebody else's things? Absolutely not. Like I've learned and I'm learning again, no is a complete sentence. And no is okay to say. But I want you to think about times and places in your life where you are sacrificing, where you're not allowing yourself to be soft. Because we all know what that strong person syndrome is. And it's the thing that nobody ever questions. Oh, you're so strong. Oh, that's so great. Oh, I want to be like you. Then be like me. But don't. Because they don't realize when they're complimenting it that sometimes being that way, you'll be falling apart on the inside and nobody will be the wiser because you have a mask on. Paul Laurence Dunbar, we wear the mask. You're covering up your struggles. You're covering up your trials. You're covering up your emotions. You're covering up your losses. You're covering up your needs to be the strong one. Now, I don't mind being dependable. I say that the way I show up and that I show up is just a part of my character. But I've learned in a very hard way that people start to look at the dependable one, the one that'll follow through on commitments no matter what, and they step back and let that person do it. Let that person do the work. Let that person sacrifice. I remember, this is about 12, 13 years ago. I was doing the first annual Juneteenth Culture Fest back home in Montgomery, and I founded that. And I had all these ideas, and I had a committee. I had volunteers that wanted to be a part of it. And one of my closest friends, Tessa, said to me one day, and we had just met because she volunteered. She said, "You have an issue delegating." And I did. I had an issue delegating. I also had an issue sitting down. I also had an issue with accepting help. Even though I had people that were willing to help and would do whatever I told them needed to be done, I had an issue with not doing it all myself. Because I used to say all the time, if I show up by myself and I give my 100%, you get 100%. But if I show up and you show up and I give 100% and you give 50, you done knock my 100 down to 50. So it was a trust thing. And it was also accepting people where they are and not accepting that where they are doesn't necessarily mean that they need to be around me. I'm a everybody for everybody person. I want everybody to win. I want everybody to elevate. But sometimes I would be elevating them, lifting them up myself instead of us climbing together. You ever thought about, say you jumping a fence, right? And you give somebody a boost. Okay, now they on the top of the fence. What should they do? They should reach down and pull you up. Some people aren't strong enough to do that. That does not mean that you put your foot in the rungs of the fence, or that does not mean that you start stepping on the rocks and the blocks of the fence and hoist yourself up. Because if you could do that, they should have been able to do it too. And if they couldn't do it, maybe they weren't supposed to get over that fence. And some people, you give a boost and you hoist them over the fence and they gone on over the fence and leave you on the other side. So it's all about being attentive. And when you're doing too much, when you're always the strong one, when you're always showing up, you may miss some of those red flags. You may miss some of those things that'll tell you this is not okay. So our whole episode is about letting go of being the strong one, accepting that it's okay to be vulnerable, accepting that it's okay that some people just aren't for you, accepting that it's okay to rest. It doesn't mean you're not strong. It means you're just preparing yourself for your next task, not the other person's, not somebody else's. Because what do they say about companies? Oh, okay, so there's a saying, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I just have that mindset, like I can't build somebody else's stuff up when I could be building my own. And that's one of the sayings I love. Build your dreams or someone else will hire you to build theirs. Ain't that something? So I'm not saying quit your job and start your own empire. But even if it's just the way that you show up for your job, the way that you show up for your family, the way that you show up for your friends, the way that you show up in your romantic relationships. Show up for yourself the same way and show up for yourself first in that way. Build yourself or somebody else will sit back and let you build them up. So main character energy, main character moves is about building you, is about embracing what you bring to the table and sitting at that table by yourself and eating the feast that is what you've created. So let's get started. That was main character energy. Stay tuned for more.
Ma! Mama!
Welcome to Mom Guilt, because perfect moms don't exist, but real ones do. Hey there, Mama. You came back to see me? It's so good to see you again. I didn't know if you were going to come this time. And if I'm being honest, I'm glad you did. I know you got a lot on your plate, so you taking this time to sit with me in my office means a lot. And I know it's cold. It's cold, but we're here. So I want to tell you, thank you. Because as much as you may enjoy being here, I enjoy you being here too. And I'm grateful, so grateful. So I've been thinking lately, we deal with a lot being moms, right? We deal with a lot being people in general, but as moms, we carry a heavy weight. Like, you ever feel like everything is on you for your household to be successful? Like, if you miss one task, everything's just gonna fall apart. If you don't cook breakfast, if you don't keep a routine because you're tired, or because you have something else going on. If you don't, well, I would say pay a bill, but we try to pay those on time, right? If you need time, that you will throw off the entire ecosystem of your life and your household. That everything is reliant on you holding it together, being strong, and being present 100% all the time. Does it keep you from sleeping sometimes? Like, oh, I know I'm tired, but if I do this now, then when they get up, they'll have this already done. This will make their lives easier. This will give me a little bit of extra time tomorrow or at the end of the week. And then tomorrow or at the end of the week, you find that you filled that extra time with another task just to keep everything going. That you got to be the strong mama. That you got to keep it together. That you can't show weakness. Whether it's emotional weakness or just weakness in general. You ever feel that way? I do. Strength is not defined by how much you can do and how much you can carry. The fact that you can carry it at all is a testament to your strength, mama. It's a testament to how strong you are. But you know what's also strong? Knowing when to put things down. Knowing when to step away. Knowing when to take a moment for yourself, because you got to be strong for you before you can be strong for anybody else. And that is the hardest thing in the world to do for anyone who feels like they are the end all, be all for their household, for their children, for their family. We're the cornerstone. I used to hear that word cornerstone and not really understand it. The cornerstone is the foundation. And it's okay, you are the foundation. The cornerstone is the one that holds it all together. But you can hold it all together and not have to carry it all the time. That's what I want you to think about and realize. You don't have to carry it all the time. Even with bodybuilders, they'll pick it up, but then they got to put it down. And that's building their strength. But again, with bodybuilders, a lot of times, especially if they deadlifting, all they got to do is lift it one time. So there's a way to be strategically strong. And that's better than being strong all the time. That's better than lifting the weights every day, all the time, repetitively. Set things into place. Set it and forget it is what I call it. And some things will just go. Some things will just happen. And you're smart. So you know which ones need your presence all the time, and you know which ones don't. But there's a mindset, right? We've got this mindset that we've got to micromanage everything. We've got to make sure that it's going to go exactly how we want it to go every time. And that's not wise, but it's also not kind to yourself or to your family. It's crippling them. It's crippling your children. See, our task as mamas is not to do everything for our children. It's to teach our children the things that they can carry on into life so they can do it for themselves. I love the idea of my babies can always come back to me for anything. And trust me, they do. But here's the thing. Them coming back to me for everything doesn't leave much space for me. And it also shows me where I may have just dropped the ball when it came to making them equipped to handle some things themselves. Because mama, as much as we hate to admit it, we're not always going to be there. We're not always going to be able to be there. And realistically, we shouldn't always be there. Some of the best life lessons are learned by going through it. But you can give the tools, and then you got to step back and watch it work, mama. So I know the mindset of, I got to be strong. I got to have it together. I got to make sure everything is in place all the time. And I know what that can do to you. I know how that can wear you out. It will wear you out. Because again, if you think about them deadlifters and them bodybuilders, too much weight makes their knees go out. Too much weight and handling it the wrong way, picking it up the wrong way, can throw out their back. You can do permanent damage being too strong or being strong all the time. Let your body rest. Let your mind rest. Let yourself rest. Let your soul rest. And just appreciate that you're doing the damn thing. Because you are. You doing it. You doing it. Stop trying to be strong all the time. Sometimes just being present while being strategic in your strength is the best thing you can give your children. And it's damn sure the best thing you can give yourself. So thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me, mama. I appreciate the company, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care of yourself, okay? Put that weight down. See you next week. That was Mom Guilt. Keep showing up with love. Up next, another dose of the Joi Miner experience. This is writing and where creativity meets chaos and keeps on writing. Hey y'all, welcome to Writing And. I love writing, y'all. I mean, it's a whole segment in my podcast. It's such a big part of my life, and not just because it pays bills. Anytime I tell people about writing, I say writing saves my life every day. Because I'm seen as such a strong woman that sometimes me being vulnerable makes people standoffish. It throws them off. It scares them. I fought for everything that I've had in my life, even my writing career. I fought for the rights to my books from a fraudulent publisher during COVID and recovering from brain surgery. So yeah, I am a bit strong. I'm tenacious. And what's mine is mine. But let me tell you why I love writing. I have a reader that has become one of my closest friends, Shanae. And she's a test reader of mine. And I remember her messaging me and telling me that she could tell what I was going through because my characters went through it. She could tell what I was going through because I wrote my pain into my pages. Writing really does give me a space to just be me. And I think that's why my writing does so well. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't think to incorporate But yes, we're writing for readers. But first and foremost, we're writing for ourselves. And that's in any aspect of creation. That's in anything that you're doing in your life. You should be doing it for yourself first. So I just picked up the practice of journaling. I have a friend that swears by it. Javacia Harris Bowser, she swears by it. And she's doing a challenge for November where you can journal for 15 minutes because you're either getting 200, 300, or 500 words a day. I said, okay, I can journal for 15 minutes. Now, something that I've struggled with and I'm still getting used to is that I can't handwrite for very long because I had a stroke a few years ago. So I have to type, which is great because I'm still writing. But sometimes you need to see your words in your own handwriting to make it official, right? So that's something that I struggle with. I can write for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, handwritten, before it starts looking like chicken scratch. But that notwithstanding, I still sit in front of my computer every day. Might not be in the mornings, first thing in the morning, might not be in the afternoon, or it might be in the afternoon. But I'm definitely, before I go to bed, gonna journal for 15 minutes. And that journaling has turned into podcast ideas. That journaling has turned into story plots and book titles. That journaling has allowed me to be completely honest with myself because the page doesn't judge you. My characters, once I write them through what I'm going through, I've written myself through it as well. So I'm manifesting my own healing with every word that I write, with every scenario that I create. And I do it in fiction, but now I'm branching into memoir and self-help books and essays and things of that sort. I've done it here or there, but being that vulnerable and people knowing that it's really about me and not about these characters is kind of hard for me. I don't know if it's because I have this strong facade. I have friends that say, you act all tough, but you're not. Because I'm not. I'm a big old fluffy gushy teddy bear. But don't try the teddy bear. Because I still have sharp teeth. But I'm embracing vulnerability even in my creative nonfiction. And it makes it more relatable. That's, I think, why people love my poetry like they did, because it was about strength, survival, withstanding. But it was in such a vulnerable way that it let people know I was down. I struggled. It was hard. It's still hard, but I'm not giving up on myself. So every day that I write, every day that you write, every day that you create, whether you're journaling, whether you're creating art, whether you're taking pictures, whether you're making music, be vulnerable. Allow yourself the space to be completely open and see what comes of it. See how healing it is, because it's a purging thing as well. Now, I'm not saying put all the messy details into your art. Those aren't necessary, but give yourself the space to acknowledge those details, even if you just acknowledge them for yourself. And then you don't always have to be so strong. You don't always have to be so go-getter that you don't celebrate your growth, your progress, your success. You can do that too. So in my Substack and my newsletter that comes out on Mondays, I wrote about unlearning the strong one syndrome. And if you don't mind, I'd love to share just a little piece of that with you so you understand what I mean when I say just being able to write and be vulnerable is healing. So give me a second. I printed it out. So let's see. I was a self-sacrificing pillar of strength. I felt bad for needing help. Even worse, I was hesitant to ask for it because it usually came back and bit me in the butt. Help usually came with an invisible tally, but I became too strong. My trials weren't addressed. My thoughts and worries were swept under the rug. I could give great advice, but didn't always apply it to my own life. If you needed help, call Joi. If you needed a friend, call Joi. If you needed to feel understood, call Joi. If you needed encouragement, call Joi. And Joi called no one. Not that I didn't have people I could call. No, I had plenty. But I didn't want to be doubted because I needed help. I didn't want to be judged because I needed help. I didn't want to admit that I needed help. Then I was placed in situations where I had no choice, where those who came to me were my lifeline, where I realized that needing help wasn't a scarlet letter. It was why. It was okay. Now, some people let me down. But people do that. Others, though, stepped up the same way that I had for them, and then some. It was an awkward change, but after a while, a welcome situation. The understanding was pleasant. The space to share thoughts, struggles, and pains created community. I realized that I didn't have to be strong all the time. Then, y'all, I tried my hand at therapy at my daughter's suggestion. 2 sessions in, I was sharing my day with my therapist. I told her that I just released a book. She congratulated me. Her next question, though, changed my life. What are you doing to celebrate? She asked. Nothing. I'm starting on the next book when I leave here. The face she gave me was epic. What? I asked. You talk about the things that you do like they're just normal. Well, that's because they are. For who? The room fell silent. Who was it normal for? Who could write a book and release it and act like it was taking a walk to the car? Me. It was because I was in a writing culture that had authors releasing whole series in a month. So writing and releasing a book every couple of weeks or every couple of months actually felt like slacking to me. My standards were insanely high, unrealistic even. So you have to give yourself credit. You have to realize that you can be vulnerable. You have to realize that you can be soft. And my favorite part, like I said, the page don't judge. So go forth and write your truth. Go forth and be open. Create real characters with dimensions because you've got dimensions. And see how it changes things for you. Just as a mental health practice, not even as a source of income. I love y'all. Happy writing. That was writing and keep them pages turning. Welcome to Relationship. Because love ain't always pretty, but it's always a lesson. You ever been the strong one in a relationship? And I'm not just speaking of romantic relationships. I mean parental, familial relationships. I mean friendships. That person that's always sorting it out for everybody. Always holding everybody else up. Always keeping everybody else together. I was that strong one. So let's talk about familial relationships. I was the one that showed up all the time for everybody. Need to borrow money? Okay, I got you. Need a ride here? Okay, I got you. Need me to stop what I'm doing to help you do something that you didn't really need to do? Okay, I got you. Need validation? Okay, I got you. Then I realized how much I was missing out on and how much I didn't get in the same situation. So let's look at friendships. Same thing, y'all, same thing. Always showing up, always being there, phone always on. You can reach me anytime, day or night. I'ma get out in the middle of the night to ride with you to do some stupid shit. I was that friend until I needed friends. Didn't always work out like I hoped it would. And that's okay. And then my favorite, in case y'all hadn't caught it, I'm lesbian. So imagine 2 women in the relationship. One of them has to be the one that doesn't have the emotional reaction to everything, right? I was that one. Lord, I was that one. I was the one that, even if I was the one that was hurt, I had to calm them down because they felt bad for hurting me. And they didn't mean to hurt me. And now them hurting me had them so upset that they needed to be coddled and cared for and catered to. All the while, I was still the one that was hurt. There was a day where I sat back and said, I need to be a significant other to myself. I need to be a friend to myself. I am my own family. Yes, I have my children. Yes, I have my blood. But I need to be family for me first. And I started showing up for myself. Now, did I feel bad? Sometimes. In the beginning, a lot of times. That guilt is something else, especially if somebody throws that guilt on you. But then I started feeling a lot better about it because if you step back, you'll realize that a person is capable of regulating themselves, of governing their own lives, and didn't need you to do it in the first place. Ain't that something? So I had to start asking myself these questions. Was I overgiving? Is this situation going to require that I give too much of myself, of my time, of my effort? And once I thought about that, I had to think about not only stopping myself from overgiving, but what was I looking to receive? You know, because you can cut everybody off and you ain't a friend to me and this relationship ain't working and you ain't my family, you just my blood. Nah. But what if somebody asks, what can I do to support you? How can I be a better friend to you? How can I be a better partner to you? Do you have the answer to that? Or do you just know that you were burnt out and tired and felt like you were being misused? See, it's about not only knowing what you deserve, but being able to articulate it, because sometimes people just don't know. Now, I ain't making excuses for the ones that do know and just don't do. I'm not making excuses for them. But I will say that sometimes people just don't know, and they need you to tell them. They need you to guide them because they've never had a you in their lives before. And if they really want to reciprocate, you being able to articulate what it is that you need from them can make the situation a better situation. So it takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot of time with yourself. One, to realize why you're in these situations that are not reciprocal, or two, why you weren't able to articulate from the beginning. Maybe you didn't know, but there are some core things that we know. And articulating what you need cuts out the space for misunderstanding to creep in and cause conflict. So if you can't say what you need, what's the saying? A closed mouth don't get fed. Ask for what you need. Now, if they can't give it, or if they don't give it, or even if they try and they fail, give them an E for effort, but then be honest and say, the way that you're giving is not what I need, and I know that you're doing your absolute best. So I don't think this is a good situation for both of us, because I don't want you to continue trying to give and feeling like I'm not receiving, or what you're giving is not enough. And I don't want to continue to receive not enough. And we have this give and take, or this tension between us, right? So the real relationship is not being able to set boundaries, is not even knowing your own boundaries, and is not knowing when to walk away. It doesn't matter who it is. If it doesn't fit your life, if it leaves you lacking, because then you're going to be going to other places to look for what you should be getting in that situation. And it hurts. It hurts to cut off family members. It hurts to cut off friends. It hurts to cut off relationships. It does. But you know what hurts more? Emotional starvation. Hurt adding up and adding up and adding up and adding up until it's pressing your heart down. It's pressing you down, shrinking yourself to fit someone else's abilities. That kind of relationship we don't need in our lives. We got enough to deal with on our own. So cheers to putting down your strong person always there, Kate, and stepping into let's balance this thing out in every aspect of your life. That was relationship, love, learned out loud. Up next, another dose of the Joi Miner experience. Pull up a chair, baby. It's time for some cornbread logic, serving up soul, sense, and a little bit of sass. I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free. Hey y'all, you ever heard that saying, what don't kill you make you stronger? Saying's kind of ironic, ain't it? It's true. What don't kill you make you stronger. And I have another quote that I love so much that says, scars are proof of what tried to kill you but didn't succeed. Those are all fine and dandy until you consider the fact that maybe you shouldn't be tussling with death. Maybe there should be some level of moderation. And if you're in situations on a regular basis where you worried about whether or not you're going to survive it, you might want to do some inventory. Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with not being super strong all the time. There's nothing wrong with not collecting evidence of all the things that you've been through. I promise you, life gonna give you enough to survive. You ain't gotta create those trials for yourself or find yourself in them. But there's a cultural thing for Black women especially, but for women in general, that says that if you're not strong, you're weak. You're expected to be strong. You're expected to be okay. You're expected to just dust your shoulders off when you've been through something trying, something where it would have broken somebody else. You're expected to survive it with a smile on your face. We've been conditioned to be strong. And I love the current thing, that soft girl era. I love that women are embracing their soft girl. I love that men are embracing it too. I love that we're allowing ourselves to not be so strong all the time, to take it off our shoulders and rest. Rest does not mean that you're procrastinating. Rest does not mean that you're lazy. Rest means that you are building yourself up so you'll be ready for what's coming your way. So you'll be ready for your everyday. So you'll be ready just to live and survive. I used to walk around and say, I'm a survivor of all these things. And I'm proud of all the things I've survived. A lot of them I shouldn't have had to survive. But now, just surviving life, just surviving love, just surviving womanhood, just surviving being human. There are some aspects of that we shouldn't have to survive. We should be able to exist in. I'll tell you a few ways that you can exist and not just survive. You can ask for help. When it's too much for you, it is not a black eye on you and your ability. Say, hey, sis, help me out with this. Hey, this is hard. Ooh, that's a good one. It's so hard sometimes to just say, this is hard. It's so hard sometimes to just say, I don't know if I can do this. It's so hard sometimes to say, help me. But there's strength in that. There's strength in asking for help. There's strength in knowing that everything ain't something you can do. If you need something fixed in your house, you're going to ask somebody to do it or pay them to do it, right? Because you can't do everything. None of us can. So we got to stop thinking that if it don't kill us, we should be able to push through and we should be able to be strong enough to withstand it. If it don't kill us, we should be able to survive, even if surviving looks like falling out, even if surviving looks like being broke or broke in, you know? It's great that you can survive. Keep that in your back pocket. But thriving should not require surviving all the time. Thriving should not require pushing yourself to the limit every day. That's not thriving. That's not thriving at all. But we were told to push through. We were told to put on a straight face, put on a strong face. And I'll say I'm guilty of it. I've told my children that. Put on a strong face, even if you don't like it. Now, there are some things when it comes to life that you do have to just grin and bear it. We all know those things, and we know those things ain't the things I'm talking about. The things I'm talking about is taking on extra weight. The things I'm talking about is knowing that it's going to stress you, strain you, and doing it anyway. If it's joyous and it brings you joy, absolutely do it anyway. I'm all for that. But if it's going to add to your stress level, if it makes you anxious, and you can feel when you get anxious about something, ain't nobody got to tell you anxious about it. Ain't nobody got to tell you something's not good for you. But if you're like me, you see them red flags, you see the warning signs, and you barrel forward anyway. But now's the time. Stop believing if it don't kill you, it makes you stronger. Now's the time to take detours when it might just be too much. Sometimes, and it's okay for these sometimes to be a part of your story. Sometimes, hard ain't the way to go. You don't have to be on the struggle bus, as they say. You don't have to be constantly proving yourself. Who you proving yourself to? Because you already know what you're capable of doing. So who you proving yourself to? And do you really want to be proving yourself to somebody every moment of every day, all the dang on time? How does that work? How does that look? How does it feel? So as much as I believe in being strong in the moments that you need to, I also believe in keeping your strength in your back pocket. So you'll have a full bounty of it when you need to be strong and not wasting it on frivolousness to try to prove to yourself or whoever that you strong. All you're doing is breaking what you got, your most valuable asset, you. So pushing through, I get it. It has a place just like everything else. Being strong, I get it. It has a place just like everything else. Doesn't mean it has to be the only card in your hand of value. Y'all ever play spades? Spades is my game, baby. You can win a book with a 10 if you play your hand right. You can lose a book with a king if you don't play your hand right. So being strong is about utilizing your resources, utilizing your community, your friends, your family, and knowing your own value. See, those are the elements to strength. Your surroundings, yourself, your timing. That's how you keep what might be trying to kill you from even reaching you. So, sometimes it don't need to be in your hands. Sometimes it ain't your battle. And in those times, you not stepping up and taking on that battle, says absolutely nothing about whether or not you would be able to handle the battle. Understand what I'm saying? So yeah, what don't kill you make you stronger, and keep on pushing through. But how about we be selective by what we take on and what we push through? My cornbread's ready, y'all. I'll see y'all next time. That was cornbread logic. Now let that sink in. You're listening to Bedtime Stories. Get cozy, get comfy, and get lost in a story. After the way you reacted to the last story that I read, I decided I was going to do that every night. I think it's fun for us to share that moment together. So since we're coming up on the holidays, I wanted to read you Five for Dinner by Joi Miner this time. Ain't nothing open this time of night except liquor stores and legs. Jacqueline chastised her granddaughter after she'd gotten inside and fastened her seatbelt. She could almost be certain what she was doing there, and she lit into her after she'd locked the doors to make sure that Naomi couldn't get out and run. Does your mother know where you are? Never mind. She's probably so wrapped up in her own sin that she left an opening for you to be out here committing your own. Naomi rolled her eyes, already regretting not just calling an Uber to pick her up instead of her grandmother. She just didn't want a chance putting herself in danger, and she wasn't wanting to hear her mother's "I told you so." Now, she was about to be beaten with Bible verses and holier-than-thou rants from her grandmother. No, she doesn't know where I am. She was asleep when I left, Naomi emphasized, immediately jumping to her mother's defense. She was tired of the way that her grandparents treated her mom. She'd made a choice for herself and they should have respected it. She was grown as hell, had been married twice, had 2 children, and they were worried about who was in her bed when she was almost 40 years old. Why didn't you call her or her wife? Naomi grumbled. She was regretting this more and more by the second. Talia is her wife, Nana. That's not what I call a marriage. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Listen, this was a mistake. I can get out right up here on the corner, Naomi interrupted her grandmother, saying, willing to take her chances being abducted and sold into sex slavery by an Uber driver than having this redundant conversation that she knew wouldn't end well. No, please, Jacqueline begged. I just don't understand any of this, she admitted, looking over at Naomi while they sat at a red light, waiting for her to turn. Did you ever think that it wasn't for you to understand? Love, emotions, other people's relationships don't have to make any sense to anyone but the people involved in the situation. You chose to exit our lives, so it's not really for you to speak on, nor is it for you to understand. You don't accept it, Nana, and that's cool. But it's not fair for you to attack Mama or me by proxy. Have you never made a decision that your parents didn't approve of? Jacqueline started laughing at the answer to that question. She was a good girl, for the most part. She didn't give her parents much grief and definitely didn't give them anything to worry about. Until she'd brought Jeremiah home, that was. Her father despised him from the moment he laid eyes on him, saying he was a hustler and wouldn't be able to provide his princess with the life that she deserved. Naomi's stomach started to growl aloud because she hadn't eaten since earlier that day when she and Persephone had polished off the leftovers. She realized that Kenan hadn't even asked her if she was hungry. He'd had one thing on his mind, and it was being revealed to her more and more. Are you hungry? Jacqueline asked, knowing the answer. She felt like it was time for her to be honest with someone and hoped that she would be able to help her granddaughter with her story. Yes, ma'am, but don't worry about it. I can get something when I get home, Naomi said, looking out the window, catching on to the fact that her Nana hadn't answered her question. There was no way that she was as perfect as she portrayed herself to be. Or maybe she was, and that was why she looked down on everyone else who was human and flawed. Well, I'm hungry after that drive. You know, I don't eat while I'm cooking, so I forgot to eat before bed. Do me the honors of sharing a meal with an old lady? She asked, looking at Nay with a plea in her eyes. I did drive all this way. Let me enjoy your company for a little while, please? She tried to guilt Nay into saying yes. Okay, Naomi said with a sigh. She wasn't going to pass up a free meal, being as hungry as she was, and she did love and miss her Nana. But she settled in her mind that if the conversation didn't go in a way that she liked, she'd excuse herself to the bathroom and call for a ride. Great, Jacqueline didn't hide her excitement at Nay's agreement. What do you have a taste for? I don't know what's open this time of morning, she said, not meaning to be condescending, but it happened to come out that way. IHOP and Waffle House, unless you have a taste for liquor and what's between legs. Naomi responded sassily, making her Nana laugh. She was really reminding her of her mother right then. Jasmine used to have so much spunk. She felt like that was one of the things that being with her husband and not being allowed to be her true self had managed to steal from her. IHOP it is, Jacqueline conceded, pulling over to the side of the road so she could search the closest IHOP using her GPS. The ride was quiet, except for the radio that was playing Christmas music softly in the background. Jacqueline wanted to talk to Nay about why she was at a hotel, but felt like she needed to reveal something about herself before she would get her grandchild to open up to her. There was a tension between them, and it was paining her heart. The sky started to turn because the sun was rising, and Jacqueline knew that Jeremiah would be up soon, expecting breakfast and his coffee to be waiting for him. He can feed himself for once, she thought, realizing that this would be the first time in the 40 years that they'd been married that she wouldn't be there to serve and cater to him. Pulling into the IHOP parking lot, they got out and walked inside, happy that there wasn't really anyone there but them. After being seated and placing their drink orders, Jacqueline reached out for Naomi's hands and was grateful that she didn't pull them away. Cupping Naomi's hands inside of her own, she looked across the table, ready to bare her soul. I was a good girl coming up. I didn't cause many waves for my parents. Your mother was the same way. She was a great child. It seems like a generational curse of some kind, the way that the ones that we love lead us to being ostracized from our families. Naomi was all ears, taking in every word that her Nana was speaking. Her mind ventured for just a moment to the argument that she'd had with her mother that had led her to make the decision to leave home with Keenan so late at night and caused her to wind up in her present situation. My father couldn't stand Jeremiah, Jacqueline admitted. Thought he was a two-bit hustler and wouldn't appreciate the woman that I was. Was he wrong? Naomi asked, making Jacqueline tighten her full lips until they almost disappeared into her face. I wish I could say that he was, but he wasn't. Of course, there was nothing that he could say that would make me leave the love of my life. In my mind, he just didn't understand our love, and I wasn't going to let him interfere with my happily ever after. Sound familiar? Naomi's mouth hung open, wondering how her Nana knew that was what had just happened between her and her mother. She couldn't speak in response, but nodded her head to let her Nana know that she was completely understood. So what happened? Well, your mother happened. On my first time, Jacqueline said, frowning, when remembering the way that things had gone between her and her father when he'd found out. What she remembered more than that, though, was the sad expression on her mother's face when he put Jacqueline out. And he put you out? Naomi asked. It was Jacqueline's turn to be surprised. There was no way that Nate could have known. Sure did. And I wanted to marry Jeremiah, but he wasn't ready, Jacqueline said, pursing her lips this time. But he was ready to take my virginity and get me pregnant. The memory angered Jacqueline more than it ever had before. It took 3 years, and Jacqueline preparing to leave him for him to finally commit. And that was only because it would bolster his image when he claimed to have been called to minister. At the time, Jacqueline hadn't cared. She was just happy to have finally gotten a ring. That was a similar situation with Jasmine and her first husband. She'd come home pregnant, and Jeremiah had almost had to hold a gun to his head to get him to marry her. The catch to that, though, was the fact that Jasmine never lied in her conversation earlier, when she'd mentioned being caught with a girl when she was 13. Jacqueline hadn't told her husband, and thought after much talk and prayer that she'd exorcised the demon out her child. Dang, Nana, that's really messed up. Are you happy? Naomi asked the question that Jacqueline had been wrestling with more since the holidays had come around than before. I don't know, she admitted, happy that the waitress came to bring their drinks and take their food orders, giving her a break from the weighty conversation and a chance to regroup. You only get one life, Nana, Naomi said as soon as it was just the two of them at the table. Why have you condemned yourself to a life of misery? Because Jacqueline grabbed a napkin from the table and dabbed the tears that were forming in the corners of her eyes. She actually didn't have an answer to that question that would make sense to her granddaughter or any other sane person. No, she hadn't worked, but she had plenty saved. Her parents had passed on and left her a healthy insurance payment that she hadn't told her husband about and had been collecting interest for 10 years. She had no reason to stay, but she didn't have the strength or gumption to leave. Naomi gave her Nana's hands a gentle squeeze, knowing that she'd been sitting with this hurt on her for a very long time, posing for her grandfather's church and now for him, because she could tell she carried guilt about the way her mother had caused the fall of their church. Jasmine didn't think that Naomi knew about it, because they'd removed as much of it as they could from the internet. But her classmates had chastised her so badly when she'd gone to school the next week, up until they'd moved, that there was no way she could not have known. She just never thrown it in her mother's face because she knew she would have probably done similar placed in the same situation. It actually made her mother her hero, in a way, because she'd stood up for herself. He's all I know. He may be all you know, but he's not all you got. You have us, Naomi said, knowing that her mother would happily accept her Nana back into her life with open arms. It was amazing the amount of chaos one person's rigid beliefs could cause so many people. It was a trickle-down effect. The waitress brought their food, sitting it down and taking her leave, seeing Jacqueline's wet face and not wanting to intrude their conversation. I'm not brave like your mother. No one is, Nay said seriously, but with a slight giggle. She knew just how strong her mother was, even in her willingness to fall all the way apart when she needed to, not caring who might see her and what they might have to say about it. So, what do you say we break generational curses today? I didn't lose my virginity to the last man on earth that Mama would have wanted me to, she said, a noticeable sigh of relief passing through Jacqueline's lips. A man who would have controlled me like Grandpa controls you, and like Percy and my father tried to do Mama. And you can reconcile with Mama and not let her decision cause a rift in our family for another generation. Silence fell over the table as they decided to eat, both consumed with their thoughts. Jacqueline wasn't sure she had the audacity to leave Jeremiah, regardless of the kind of neglect he showed her. Her beliefs were solid, and she believed that divorce was wrong. She took her vows seriously and believed that she had her soul to worry about. God would deal with Jeremiah when he got to the pearly gates. Naomi was filled with joy, relief, and fear. She was happy that she called her Nana because she was hoping that the rift would actually be repaired. Her relief was in the fact that she hadn't had sex with Keenan. The way her family history was set up, she would have ended up pregnant by a man who had cheated on her and hadn't even respected her enough to admit his wrong. Instead, he tried to put the same penis inside her head that had just left the insides of another woman. Thinking about that made her take a hard sip of her drink, hoping that she hadn't caught anything from performing oral on him. But more prevalent than the other two feelings was the fear of how her mom was going to react to her sneaking out like she did, and then bringing her Nana to their home, especially with Percy's uninvited appearance the night before. "Anything else I can get you, ladies?" the waitress asked, coming to the table and collecting their empty plates. "No, thank you," Jacqueline said, thanking her. "May we just have the check, Ashley?" The way Naomi's head snapped up and looked at the woman that she'd just spoken to made her curious. Naomi looked at the waitress's face because it was the third time in 24 hours, less than, actually, that she'd heard the name. She didn't believe in coincidences, but something about hearing that name repeatedly made her feel like she needed to pay attention. All things, good and bad, happen in threes. She heard her mother's voice in her head again. "Do you know her?" Jacqueline leaned in and asked Naomi. "Oh, no ma'am. Her name is..." "It's just the third time I've heard the name Ashley in less than a day," she admitted to Jacqueline, both women standing to walk to the front to pay the check for their meal. "Well, you know all things good and bad happen in threes," Naomi completed the statement, making Jacqueline smile at the fact that her daughter had passed one of her sayings down to her grands. "Indeed they do," Jacqueline smiled and said, holding the door for Naomi. "Pay attention. Somebody's trying to tell you something." Those words rang through Naomi like cathedral bells. Somebody's trying to tell you something. It's one of my favorites. I could say all of my books are my favorites, but I have some that are really, really special to me, and this is one of them. I hope you enjoyed it. So let's get some rest tonight. Let's take our cape off and let's hang it in the closet. Let's protect ourselves and only ourselves while we get the strength that we need by allowing our bodies to rest. Good night, baby. I'll see you soon. Rest well. Well, we done reached the end of this episode. Thank y'all so much for stepping into your main character energy with me today. Remember, you are the author, the plot twist, and the happy ending. So go on out there and write your story your way. If you loved what you heard, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you tune in. And stay connected with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Joi Miner. Find everything from episodes to affirmations on my website, www.joiminer.com. That's Joi, because my folks want to be different. Miner, like gold miner, not minor key, because there ain't nothing minor about me. You can learn more about the woman behind the mic and ways to engage with me. Like signing up for my newsletter, where you'll get an exclusive story every month. You'll get to read it before anybody else does. And find out about everything else I got going on before anybody else does. Like live write-ins, speaking engagements, a writer's retreat in Puerto Rico, and everything else I got cooking on this here stove. If you're looking for your own bedtime story, scoot on over to Amazon and search my name. You'll find plenty to choose from over that way. And there are so many more to come. You can find the show notes from today's show on my Substack and a weekly post for another dose of that main character energy, the Joi Miner experience. Ooh, that was a lot. I know if it was a lot for me, it was a lot for you. But don't worry, all the links are in the show description. You can just click on them there. Thank y'all so much again for dropping in. I enjoyed you. See y'all next time on Main Character Energy, the Joi Miner experience. Till we meet again, take care of yourselves, all right?